There are very obvious risks when you travel, such as pickpocketing, but there are others that are relatively unseen. Unlike a scam or a pickpocket, cyber-related crimes can cause considerably more problems for their victims. There's the possibility that your identity becomes compromised, your phone is hacked and all of your information is stolen, or someone is able to empty your bank account completely. Because of the unknown and the relative ease with which people commit these crimes, we're going to talk about my top tips for preventing cyber-related crime while you travel. Hi, my name is Evan, and I've advised hundreds of people on how to remain safe while they travel to some of the highest risk locations all around the world. If you like what you see, please check out my videos, like, and subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm. So the first big tip we're going to talk about is in relation to using credit cards when traveling. So really one of the best investments I always tell people that you can make if you're planning on traveling, whether you're in your own country or a different country altogether, is getting some kind of travel credit card. Travel credit cards are really essential tools for people just because they can keep your money secure, especially when you're paying for goods or services in a different location than you're normally in. And then credit cards have greater protections too. So you're always going to be refunded for charges that are considered fraudulent, which is not true in the case of a debit card and a checking account. That's just basically up to your bank and what they want to do for you. Credit cards are also super easy to replace, unlike cash. So obviously if cash is stolen, right, it's oftentimes gone forever. Whereas a credit card, you can get your money refunded and then you'll be able to get a new credit card afterwards. A few tips about choosing a credit card. I would say when selecting one, you always want to choose one that has no foreign transaction fees, especially if you're going to be using it for travel abroad out of your home country. And then you should also be aware that there are some countries that may not have as extensive credit card usage as others. So you do want to do a little bit of research beforehand to make sure that you can use credit cards in most of the locations that you're going to be based out of. In those cases, you should always have a backup plan too. So if you find that you're going to be traveling to a capital city and then another location in a country, that other location doesn't have access to credit card terminals, things like that, you just want to make sure that you have some cash for backup, something else. The next big thing we're going to talk about is in relation to public Wi-Fi. So public Wi-Fi overall is extremely insecure. So really one of the biggest risks for cybersecurity is using some kind of public Wi-Fi network, regardless of where you are around the world. Public Wi-Fi can be used to access information on your mobile device or your computer, as well as anything you might look up during that process as well. So just keep in mind, the more common places would be public Wi-Fi, in your hotel, for example, or also public Wi-Fi that are located inside of airports. Airports in particular are notoriously bad locations to use public Wi-Fi. There have been examples of criminals using those networks to, take information from people, but then there are also cases in which people haven't even had their phone attached to the public Wi-Fi in an airport, and they've actually come victim of a cybersecurity crime just based on the fact that someone had set up mobile tower just to take information from their phone as it attaches to that network. So just keep that in mind. You want to be very cautious about what you look at the airport. Avoid opening your bank account at the airport, avoid opening your credit card related application that you might have, any of those things that could be compromising to your information security. Some of the important things to remember, not transmitting any personal or compromising information on public Wi-Fi or in those two locations I talked about. If you do have a VPN, definitely use it, right? A VPN, or if you're not familiar with that term, a virtual private network, it encrypts the connection between your device and the network, so it does make it harder to compromise your cybersecurity when you're using a VPN. It's not completely foolproof, but definitely is a step up if you're planning on using Wi-Fi pretty extensively in one of your travels. And then the last thing, aside from the airport, which we already warned about, but using your mobile network instead of Wi-Fi can help prevent a lot of these issues altogether. So it's important to be connected in whatever country you visit so you don't have to rely on Wi-Fi all the time. My next tip is about enabling multi-factor on all platforms you use. So one of the easiest ways to reduce your risk of personal information being stolen is just to ensure that all of those platforms that include your personal information, personal finances, anything like that. So, your bank app, credit card app, investing platforms that you may use while you're abroad, just in case, all have multi-factor authentication enabled. The extra security precaution verifies your login after entering a username and password with either a text message or a call through the app, essentially. But then there's also the option of using an authenticator app, which will help mitigate any issues you might require that come up just because of the fact that you may have a different phone number in a particular country. So those are two major options that you can use, but you should always have multi-factor authentication on. And then the last point here is just in relation to updating your device software as well. So having the most up-to-date software usually means that it's the highest level of security for your particular device that you're using. Many times updates are really solely to add security fixes to software. And this means that's a very essential tool for your cybersecurity. You should ensure that you complete regular updates, and I would just say check that everything is up to date the day before you leave on a trip. So I know personally with my devices, sometimes they'll update automatically, other times they won't update right away. So you want to just make sure it's all updated the day before you go on the trip, just because your bandwidth might be limited and it could vary in different locations that you're in. So that's just a brief overview of some of those really essential tips that you can use for your cybersecurity when you're traveling. Cybersecurity can seem like a really daunting risk just because of how easily things can happen, but everyone faces it every day, right? No matter where you are in the globe, there's some kind of risk to cybersecurity at this point in this day and age. When you travel, you're definitely more vulnerable because you're completing transactions in unknown places. You're connecting to networks that may not be your traditional secure home Wi-Fi that you have back home. But either way, these same tips can be used wherever you are in the world, and they'll be really helpful for you. It's just basic good practice to get in the hang of as you start to travel in different locations. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching.